So what we're interested in is types of conversation that are generative, which is something that Otto Scharmer, for example, in Theory Review talks about a lot. And generative conversations allow you to go into different type of thinking than the type of thinking and talking that we can do, that we're mostly engaged in our everyday lives. I'm looking at the different aspects of conversation and trying to make a difference between different types. First, we're talking. Conversation can be done also through writing. Whether it's talking or writing, we consider what we say as utterances. So this is, Bakhtin used this a lot, and I think Habermas too. They're specialists in communication. So we say something, then this thing that we say exists within a relationship with others. You have types of talk where there's no interaction. If I am speaking, it's a speech, a monologue, a lecture, so there is no interaction. This is not what I'm interested in here, talking about conversation for learning. Now, let's assume there is interaction. You can have different interactions that are process-oriented or really just more attention to outcome. And this is extremely important because if you look at forms of discussion and debate, here we're really into something that is paying attention to outcome. Normally these debates can be very competitive, argumentative, we're engaging in right-wrong, we're in an either-or mindset. We're not seeing oftentimes the whole, we're looking at parts in order to be able to win an argument. We're justifying, defending, and selling. So for me also, this is not generative talk. I know a lot of teachers use debate and think it's a good education for democracy method. I personally don't feel that these debates are very, don't generate deep thinking. So if we're looking at types of talking that are more process-oriented, some are light, like chatting or friendly connections, etc. But since we're interested in learning and why conversation is important for educators, we're going to look at the high level of meaning-making activity within a conversation. And this is what we call conversation and dialogue. And in conversation and dialogue, we're here very often in a non-formal, very spontaneous interaction. It's collaborative, it's respectful. And if we are focusing on meaning making, it's important to see, for example, how are we dealing with divergence? So you see here the word congeniality, and congeniality is actually how we're dealing with convergence and divergence, and a high level of acceptance of divergence without it being a problem in the relationship is high congeniality. And this is really a skill that's so important for engaging people in social justice, in activism, etc. I'm reading a book right now that's called Joyful Militancy. And that's really it. It's exactly that. How can we call in instead of calling out all the time? And these conversations are very systemic. You can see the whole, not just the parts. There are connections between the parts. And it allows you to start thinking about what you're thinking. So looking at inquiring into your own assumptions, being curious about what others think. And really, these for me are the conditions of a fruitful conversation for learning. So the experience of dialogue is really shifting from either or to both and, to more systemic ways of talking about things, and bringing in our stories, because we're living human beings, and the reasons for which we come into communication for meaningful dialogue is to be able to share our experiences. Experiences of dialogue are very rich when every person participating can be real, express their realness and not pretend. And conversations are alive. So you know how you can start a conversation, but you never know where it's going to go. The journey is making itself along the way. So they're full of surprises. And it takes a lot of adaptation to be able to continue a conversation and learn from it and make meanings with others. So this is a very important skill for an educator. It's very important to have these different terms. And then when you're living and talking with people, you can kind of think, oh, I'm in this type of talk or I'm in this type of talk.